And if we're not paying any attention to it, we can err pretty easily and not even know it. That's why I'm telling you, for the most part, it takes more management to run a self-feeder than it does when you're putting everything all in a ration. Now, any questions on that? Now, some of you probably know my favorite, and when we're talking fly control, that's even of more important sheds. My favorite way to control flies is always put a pill in a cow. It had time release, and what would happen, you had your daily insecticide there right already in the cow, and you sealed your manure up. That's what we were, and that, the pill's off the market. It's not going to happen. We can't find it anymore. So what I'm telling you to do is, Alpha said, it's the same principle in the mineral, but the one thing about it that's very important is that we get daily consumption. Because see, we need that daily consumption of insecticide to make that work in the paddock so that the flies won't hatch and come out of it. Now, in doing that, I'm telling you, you're going to have to manage your feeder. At the rate that we've got it in ours, we got the high rate in, and you'll be covered at 3 to 4 ounces either one. But then you're going to have to pay attention. Is she coming up? Is she doing that? And are you getting, you know what I mean, what you want done? Now, for the most part, whether we like it or not, we're going to have a two-pronged approach to control flies. Number one, I want the manure sealed up. Because see, that keeps that flush, that hatch from jumping at you. If you've got that sealed up, if you've got a few flies that move in from somebody else or something like that, you've still got that thing. Then all you have to do is either spray, dust, or pour on, you'll clean the cows up, and you jump out of it. Now, I've worked at it enough to know that this can make very easily 25 to 40 pounds difference in your weaning weights in the fall. 2 reasons why. Those flies take a lot of blood out of those calves. Because they are sitting on them and sucking on them every day. The second part of that is, if they interrupt feeding habits, if they're busy swatting or trying to get away from flies, they're not feeding correctly. So now, what do they say about feeding? Number one, what's in it, what they're consuming. See, whether we like it or not, you know, if like this year in July, we were starting to go down and we didn't have a whole lot of feed out there, then if we've got flies even interrupting that feeding and consumption even more, then you've got a cumulative effect and you can really find trouble. So, Alpha said mineral, very good product. Just remember you need to know how to use it. Now, if they're way over the 4 ounces early in the spring, I would tell you we need to salt it a little bit or put some loose salt out in the mineral feeder, like if you got the 3-compartment feeder, throw one of them. Take your 4 into it to know if you're getting your 1/4 pound. Remember, then you can go down to the 3 ounces, so take 75% of that figure, and you know where your window for success is. Then if you slip below that, you got to jerk the salt. If you do that, things will level out and go where we want. Like any product, you've got to read the directions and understand it to make it work correctly. And it will do it. Now, any questions on it? There's nothing, well, you know, cast yards aren't fun, different things aren't fun, but it's not fun to go out and watch a bunch of cows fighting a bunch of flies. Because again, it's about on an afternoon when you want to do something else, and you see those little girls are either all in the pond trying to get away from them, or they're out there swatting or running or doing something like that. Other than that, spread out and feeding the way you want. No questions at all? Did I do that good a job?
Have you heard anything about using protective notes?
Yeah, I have. And ahead, it's kind of, you know, I mean, it's loosey yet. Now, they know that there is, some ways that it can be that. Now, I know that I've used permethrin quite a bit back and forth going, and I've never seen any trouble that I knew. Now, University of Missouri was the one that came out with that. University of Illinois tried to duplicate it a year ago, did not get it duplicated. We're wondering now if there's not specific, shall I say, circumstance, like real high humidity or something that might cause that. Because that was the year that, you know, we had more humidity. Now, this is what I tell people to do. What I'm talking about is some of your sprays, dust, or the pour-on, possibly, were and what I'm doing, now this is my way of getting around it. Permethrin is the best thing that we have in space flight. Because it's got knockdown and it's got repel. So, what I try to do, and on any of your insecticides, you'll get more buildup during the year than you'll get in between years, so I rotate. You know, I told you that fly control had to be a two-prong approach. What I'll do is I'll seal the manure up, and then I'll rotate through permethrin, and that would be Safeguard, Normectin, organophosphate, and that would be, Corral, and then I go back. And you've also got Raybon that you can mix in during that, and you can figure them up with 4 pounds. So, what I try to do is space it. Every year your worst space fly infestation is going to come sometime in July and August. So I try to use, you know, I'll probably be shooting for using Normectin in July. Hopefully breeding's over by then, but you still might, you know, when you want to touch it a little. And then in August I'll use that. And I'll use the most refined or the newest synergized permethrin, and that's Sandor. In other words, there's not very much resistance to that. And I'll use it like that. Because if you use Normectin, you'll clean cows up and you'll get about 17 to 21 days. If you use Sandor pour-on, face up then in August, you'll virtually get 4 weeks. So see, we pretty well with your manure sealed up and that approach, you're not going to have very much fly. Now, any questions on that? And that's how I approach that one.
Are you worried about any resistance to the alpha food?
No, I'm not. For the most part, they've never proved that. And I don't know 100% why, but I can look into that, Brian, and I'm not too worried about it.
Mine was talk about that resistance. I was just going to add to that, because of mode of action on the flies, I guess, it's a feed-through, and it actually doesn't have an effect on the live animal. It has an effect on the cow patty. So the IGR raising patties, and then the horn flies, adult horn flies only live 10 to 20 days. So we're not really concerned about that adult fly necessarily, as we are, they lay their larvae in the patty. So that IGR kills the larvae when it gets there. So we're actually looking at like we're looking forward, I guess. We're trying to kill the larvae and stop the rematuration of flies. So that kind of, I guess that's why we don't see a resistance to it in the animal, because it doesn't really have an effect on the cow itself.
See, that's what it is, two-prong approach. Number one, we're sealing up, you know, where they go to breed and hatch out of, and the other thing we're doing is trying to fill it up. And if you do that, you know what I mean, you're going to do a good job of the product. And it takes some planning to do that. It just don't, you know, all of a sudden see some flies and run in and say, hey, I'm going to throw this on and that on. If you get it and just sit it down and say, hey, this month I'm going to use this month I'm going to use that, and get your rotation in, then, you know what I mean, you'll have success. And that's more or less what it takes. You know, the first time I ever put a pill in cows, white egg, there's a guy out there I really like. I talked back and forth with him quite a bit. And I was trying to find new ways of controlling flies because I knew not only did it lower weaning weight, but I didn't know. And I wanted to control that because seed vectors move that stuff around. And therefore, I wanted to be fairly close to perfect. So what I did is they sent me the stuff, said, you go ahead, we want to run a dual approach, see how it works. They want to run the one down in Mississippi, and then I run the one up here. I put the pill down the cows. Then the 1st of June, I ear tagged the cows and the calves. And then I counted flies, and man, that wasn't a very big job because I virtually had nothing. So then, I tried other ways, and because I knew that not everybody was going to ear tag a cow, and I know some people use spray, some people use dust, and some people use form. Now, whatever fits your bill, that's what you want to go. Now, if you got any questions of that, just talk to one of us. We'll help line that thing up. But I'll tell you, the flies are a feast. About the only one that's really, there's two that are fairly tough. Stables fairly tough because they don't spend much time on the animal. Most of the time it's because we got too much manure around. We weren't ever able to clean up or something like that, but that's what they hatch out of. And they don't spend very much time on the animal. That's why they're harder to deal with. Now, horsefly is the same way. You know, horsefly, number one, he's a 747 fly. Big, get there all down. And he does not spend very much time on a cow. That's what makes it tough. It's hard to get enough insecticide down him to kill them. You know, we can put different things on them, whether you put standard formalin, that'll help you some. Momentum formalin will help you some because there's a little repel above. But they're dang tough, and when you get them, you know what I mean, it's pretty miserable.
Does the ear tag have any effect on them?
No, not much. And I'll tell you why they don't, Bernie. For the most part, again, it's a dosage deal. And they just don't spend any time in there. They fly in, you know, put their gas pipe down in there and suck out a bunch of blood and whew, they're off. And they just don't spend enough time to get them on. See, our porons, we're putting a little more on, and placement maybe a little bit, but that's the big part of it.
Would you prefer the pour-on compared to just spraying them ever so often?
I personally like the porons better. For the most part, most of them have stickers. Like I said, they stand guard or we use a lot of Ultra Saver, really like it. It's a little different family, and see that if you use Ultra Saver, stand guard, and Romectin and rotated, you can use it with some. Now at times if you don't have any flies, don't overuse it. Because you kind of want, and you know, they always said that roughly, what they told me, once you get 40 on a side, you've got economic loss. And if you can keep that down pretty low, you know what I mean, we won't have any trouble. It's hard to be absolutely perfect. But if we remember this, if we keep our manure sealed up, then if something does move across the fence, and horn flies, for the most part, they are low-cal flies. They don't go very far. They'll go over a fence or something like that. Now, face flies can travel in for miles. That's why at times, you know, we won't have any, and all of a sudden we have some. And that's the other thing is, at times, if you get a hot pink eye going in an area and you've got some face flies, or they can pack it to you pretty quick. And, you know, that's the basic controls there. So if you see face flies, man, I try to get them off as quick as you can. Now, just to give you an example, 2 years ago, I had a pink eye for a long time. And I don't vaccinate for it. I just keep the flies off.